happy Halloween. Welcome to day 31 of Vlogtober. We are at the end of the month. Can you believe it? Where did October go? And September and August and pretty much most of 2022. I hope that you have had a fabulous day wherever you are and that you have enjoyed your Halloween. We're still about late afternoon. Nathaniel's not quite home from school yet, but he will be coming home. He will be going out trick-or-treating for the first time in several years, so he's looking forward to that. He is going to be a Star Wars character. I think he's going to be Luke Skywalker or something like that. I forgot to say, I'm Tracy of Knitting on the Float, and we are just sitting outside the float home, and we have made it through 31 days of Vlogtober. I think that I probably forgot that because I have not had any caffeine yet. It is 2:30, almost 3 o'clock probably, and I'm now just getting my first caffeine of the day. And I stopped by the Starbucks that Isaac now works on, and he was on the cash register, so I had a little bit of fun with him. The only problem was they were out of Earl Grey tea, so I can't remember what he's given me. I think he's given me English breakfast or something like that, but I made him put this on the cup, and I said I want it spelled M-U-M-M-Y. It's Halloween. This is a British spelling. Mummy! And let me lift the camera. He put a little heart on the lid of my cup as well. So I didn't get the tea that I wanted, but it was made with lots and lots of love. So I will be drinking that momentarily. Today on the vlog, we will be doing the last day of travel. We will be traveling from South Dakota to Vancouver, and we actually just pull in over the border, and that's how the travel day ends. And as soon as we got home, we started unpacking everything, and it was about 9 o'clock at night, so kind of a little bit of an abrupt end. Today's footage is, I think there were too many bugs on the windscreen, so focusing is a little bit funny. And I did find and even when if you're watching and you watch the whole thing, there's lots of yawning happening. Beautiful, beautiful scenery, but a lot of planes, and there are beautiful views, but it was probably the hardest part of the journey. But I hope that you enjoy what you're about to see, and we will go back in time and travel from South Dakota to Vancouver, and I will see you as soon as that is all done. It's like in about an hour and a half of footage, so I hope you enjoy. Good morning. It is a beautiful day in Waukoma, South Dakota. Sunshine is out. The buffalo are roaming, and we are just getting ourselves ready to get on the road for a very long drive day. Today we are driving to Butte, Montana, so I think we're just South Dakota, a little bit through Wyoming, and then into Montana today. So it is going to be a long driving day, and tomorrow will be another long driving day as we head home. The gang is on the road, ready to go. Anyway, I'm just going to put the camera away, get the last things done. My knitting is ready. I have my Wondrous dishcloth, and I've got my Second Avenue wrap in the front seat with me. And gotta say though, beautiful, but really starting to feel like autumn is in the air. It's a bit chilly. I've got to get the polar fleece on, and there's a nip in the air. Greg went for a run this morning, and he said a herd of deer ran in front of him. So maybe later in the day I'll ask him about that and he can tell you about it. But I just think that sounds amazing. Can you imagine going for a run and just deer running across your path? Something interesting to tell your grandchildren at some point. But we're not in any rush for any grandchildren.
Okay, everybody careful. Backing up out of the hotel.
Yeah. Greg is going to tell us a little bit about his run today as we drive along. So I'm going to put the camera in front because this involves him telling us about what he saw. So what happened today, Greg?
Well, I like to do a 6-kilometer run. So from this sidewalk to the next intersection is 1 kilometer. And I did 3 laps of
Turn
that.
right now.
But on the first lap, I thought I saw some deer because when this is dark, which it is first thing in the morning, it's all lit up along this path.
Maybe it was just that dog that's right there.
No, but I will show you. It was dark and it was here. No, it was a little bit further on.
Okay. So running across from here to there, or the other way around?
Yeah, where the longer grass is here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
and
from
they ran
here,
off.
across the
No,
road.
they went from that direction to that
Oh, they
direction.
went from here to there. And what were they?
I think they were deer, but then I could hear
1/4 mile. Turn
dog
left onto
noise, and I thought
Business
maybe they're
Loop and then turn
coyotes,
right.
but then I definitely saw it was a deer.
And how many?
About 10 of them.
That's neat.
Yeah.
A neat story to tell your children.
Oh, where do I go now? Left.
Left.
Turn
Here.
left now and then turn right.
Not a surprise that Greg saw deer through here. It is very grassy and starting to get really quite hilly. We are not in the Great Plains anymore. And we never did make it to Kansas. But I'm sure out there somewhere there are some deer and maybe even perhaps some buffalo that roam. Maybe today we will see some wild horses. That would be exciting, but maybe a little bit more in the Wyoming area. We are back into more plain-like areas, and there's lots of haying happening here. So there's hay bales up all around, and the fields have been started to be cleared to make hay, and there's some hay bales up there and along the side of the road as well. Greg, you used to bale hay.
Yep.
Tell us all about it.
Well, my grandfather would drive the tractor that pulled the hay baler with the wagon that followed. So there are 3 vehicles, and I would stand on the wagon with the other hired hand, and we would pull these square bales off the baler and stack them way high, about 7, 8 high, and then one day it rained really hard all of a sudden, and we went under the wagon to seek refuge, but my grandfather just stayed on the tractor and played with the gas. I remember that. And then after some time, we converted from square bales to round bales. So like the ones you see here. And then I would go out with a front end loader that had a long spear on it. And then I would go and I put the long spear into the middle of the round bale and pick it up and put it
That
on,
big?
on it. Yeah.
You'd pick
Had
one
a
of
big
them out.
tractor. It was a front end loader
Yeah.
with this big spear. And
Oh, it
then-
wasn't you sticking a spear in like
No.
with your own hand,
No,
lifting it?
It
Okay.
was on the front end loader.
Okay.
So instead of a traditional front end loader, it would have a long spear, and then you'd get a little run at it, and you'd spear it, and then you pick it up and put it on a wagon, and then you'd take them to wherever you
There
wanted
goes some
to take them.
horses.
Some farmers wrap them in white plastic, and you'll see that probably further on.
Oh, there's some. I think those are deer in the field there. Do you see them, Isaac?
Yes, I see.
They're running.
I can see.
There's the two deer
The antelope.
running alongside.
I can see it too.
They might be antelope, actually.
I can see them. Antelope. Where's the lions?
Chasing them. So back to, so what is the purpose of the hay?
It
Why
feeds
do
the cattle.
So it feeds cattle, and what is the
It's
hay
basically
exactly?
long grass. It dries. Has to be dry when you bale it, as dry as possible, so it doesn't molder. So, and then you can feed the cattle through the winter. The cattle need hay, but they also need green and water.
So there's a field that has been mown down. There's little spots that have been missed.
If the bales are yellow, it's straw, and they need straw to absorb the manure in the barn. And then you go in with a front end loader and you scrape up the manure and you take it to the manure heap.
Now, I just saw a sign that said Mustang Preserve ahead, so I guess the Mustangs are wild horses. So I guess there are some wild horses out here as well, because like Wyoming, this is a lot of land that needs to be managed, and while there's certainly farming going on, I guess keeping all of the wildlife at bay is a challenge. Rushmore Borglum Story. So we are near Mount Rushmore, but we will not be going
It's 3
to
hours.
it's 3 hours away off the highway. And we did consider, we were talking about Mount Rushmore, and we had discussed going to Mount Rushmore, but it is a little bit off of the path, about 3 hours, and we do need to get back because Nathaniel needs to get back to school, and Greg also has to get back to work. Yeah, but John Deere, what type of tractor is that in front of us?
That's a John Deere tractor. It's average size for this area.
Okay.
It looks big to us, but it's not that big. Really. They come bigger.
I had been chattering about going to Mount Rushmore, and my memory card went on me, so it's fully full, completely full, which is a little bit overwhelming because that means I've got a lot of footage that I need to edit, and that was a 64 gig memory card, so luckily I had brought a second one with me, so I've popped that in. I just missed the time zone change, so we are now in mountain time, but I'm looking around thinking it does not feel very mountainous to me right now, but we've now gone back another hour, so it's now 9:04. We are just at a rest area. I was saying they need to differentiate the rest areas and maybe call ones with bathrooms either rest stations or rest areas, and then the ones that are just for the trucks that don't have servicing, no toilets, things like that, they should either call those rest stops, or if they call this a rest station, a rest area. Anyway, we are in the middle of South Dakota. Isaac, last year we drove west without you, and this is your first time driving west. What are you thinking so far of all the landscapes?
I don't know how you did it. It's boring.
Well, it's boring sitting in the car
The
for...
same colors. It's like all the same things. It was interesting hearing Dad and what he did with the spear and the poking things, but...
So with all the combines, I found there were lots of different colors. I mean, last year when we did it, we were in October, so a lot of the colors, a lot of the harvest was done. So like right now we're seeing a lot of yellow, little spots of brown for the cows, but a lot of yellow, and the sky's beautiful today. It's beautiful. Yellow and green seem to be very prominent here, but there are reds because there's some crop that's a bit red. But where we are now, there's a lot of hay. They got to make hay while the sun shines here. But it is definitely very flat. But we've had some interesting spaces, I think, to drive through. And we're going to be getting into the Badlands soon. And I think you're going to find that interesting. And then from the Badlands, we'll be getting into the mountain area as we get into Washington. So today will be, do you remember the states we're doing today? So we're currently in South Dakota. We're going to do a little corner of Wyoming. And that'll be exciting. Okay. And then we're going into Montana. And then from Montana, we're going to cut across Idaho into Washington State. Washington State is very green. And then we will be heading up into British Columbia. So a few states left to go, but it's been a travel. Now you're tired in the back seat, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
The sun's in my eyes. So I can't
Yes,
see
it is. I'm going to pop over here now. I'm going to say that the boys have actually done very well in the back seat together. Knock on wood. I better find some. There's a tree there. I'll knock on that. It's been a long drive, but we're doing okay. Here is a field of sunflowers. I think they're a little past their prime, but they are now at the point where they're ready to be harvested for the sunflower seeds. But can you imagine this a couple of weeks ago with all those petals and all that beautiful yellow? So lots and lots of sunflowers on my right. There are a few cornfields on my left. Nice to see something a little bit different in amongst all of the hay. Over on our left here, we are starting to see a little bit of change in the land formation, a little bit rocky over there. A few moments back, there were some spots that were rocky as well that Isaac pointed out. So we're going to start seeing lots of change in the landscape. There are many signs. There's the zoom in over there. You can see a little bit of change in the landscape on the left there. We just into Buffalo Gap National Park. So grasslands here. There's rock formations out Greg's side. National grasslands, so a protected area, although there is farming that happens on here as well. We are definitely getting into a change of landscape here. Not sure how well it's focusing on the hills ahead, but we are in the Badlands. Not much hay production happening here. One of the things that I wanted to share with you is that there's tons of signs around here. There's a dinosaur there. But what I wanted to share with you is, see this sign, the 90 is closed when flashing exit now. And then they have a gate that comes down so that in the winter, especially if there's a bad snowstorm, people cannot go on the highway. And there's one on the other side too, so you're forced off the highway. And in this area, there's lots of places to stay for those who might be stranded due to a bad snowstorm. This is Wall. There's a rodeo area. They're playing football here. Stands are filled with people. So definitely signs of life in this town here. And there's another post up there that for people, no, it's got a bar that comes down so that people can't go on the highway.
Oh, I thought you
If
talking about
they've-
the sign for food and stuff, because it's a blank blue sign.
No, I was talking about closing of the highways so that people can't go on them. We're back to flattish land again, but I know we'll be back in the rocky area very soon. And we're approaching the Mount Rushmore area. There's some cornfields, and they still look like they're maybe just a little past. They're not quite harvested, but maybe a little past their prime. And those ones there look like they're past their prime, very yellow. And some more hay over here, so it's amazing. Right when I think that we're out of one particular area and into another, we seem to switch back again. So there's some more corn. There's of course a lot of corn production, corn oil. I feel like Bubba shrimp. Bubba gum shrimp, you know, the corn oil, corn on the cob, high fructose corn oil, lots of cedar butte, corn feed for animals, cornstarch, yeah, all the corns. But yeah, we're getting a little bit corny. Straight ahead, we are seeing the Black Hills in the distance, so a little bit more mountainous looking. And we'll be approaching the Mount Rushmore area in a little while. I'm not sure if we're an hour off, maybe. Starting to see some signs for there's Rushmore Cave, but there's the house on the hill there. Some really pretty views from when we get to the tops of some of these hills.
Okay, we are now recording. I'm in the passenger seat because we're about to cross the state line into Wyoming.
Yes, we're going from South Dakota into Wyoming. And while we wait for the state line to get nearer, Greg was talking about why they do ranching for beef cows, cattle here as compared to dairy. So maybe you can.
Well, dairy cattle, they require a lot more infrastructure and support because you have to be able to bring them into a barn every day, twice a day, and on these huge farms, I don't know how that would be done. And then the other thing is that after you get the milk, you have to transport it to a dairy. So most farmers, they would put it in the milk tank, and then the milk truck would come and take the milk. But if you don't have any neighbors who are also dairy farmers, and you're only producing a few tanks of milk.
This is a white sign here. That's the state line. They're leaving ownership inspection area. Oh, here we go. Sorry to interrupt, but here is the sign. Welcome to Wyoming. A much smaller one than the last time I went across.
We are now in Wyoming.
We are now in Wyoming. Okay, continue, Greg.
Well, I was just saying that if your neighbors aren't into dairy farming and you're like the only dairy farmer, it's highly unlikely that you would be able to easily transport your milk to a dairy, because I don't think there's any dairies out here. So,
or if they are, they're probably in a very concentrated area.
Yeah.
One thing are those wild horses there?
Yes, to the right.
Take a look to the right there. There are 4 wild horses, maybe more. But we've been seeing a few wild horses today, but there are some. Welcome to Wyoming, and here are wild horses to greet us. And how do you know they're wild horses, Greg?
If they're not fenced in. Actually, those ones they're fenced in, as far as I can tell. Well, I mean, it's possible, fence or no fence, wild horses can jump over fences.
Yeah, I have a feeling those ones were wild because it was just the 4 of them together, and there's not really any look like there's any other farming activity going on close by. So I would actually guess those ones were wild horses.
Well,
So-
we will keep our eyes open for wild horses and other wildlife.
We are driving along through Wyoming on this back highway, 2-lane highway, and lots of cows, lots of fields, and we are getting nearer to the Montana state line, so the Wyoming-Montana state line. We're just cutting off through a top corner. And Greg, what were you just talking about?
When we go to Montana, years ago when I went to Montana on my own, there were no speed limits, and every once in a while on the radio you would listen and they would explain it as they have the reasonable and safe rule, so you could go as fast as you like as long as it was considered safe and reasonable. So the police could stop you if they felt it was not safe or reasonable.
You weren't driving safely. Look at this big bird going across here. I don't know what kind that is. Some sort of...
I know I had a...
Oh, look at that. They're all... There's a bunch of them over there, actually. There must be some... Are there some wild turkeys there, too? Or some eagles. Were those eagles?
Yep, they were bald eagles.
Oh, were they bald eagles or gold eagles?
I don't know.
Oh, you're facing the camera the wrong way, Greg.
Really? Doesn't that take on
No.
the... Oh, I thought that... Okay. Okay, I'm going to shut off
No,
now.
no, because we're about to cross
Oh.
the state line.
Okay,
But
is
yeah,
this
you
still
gotta
going?
face the camera. You gotta face the camera that way. Like the lens part faces out. Anyway, so a few moments ago we saw some of those big fencing things that were for snow. So I don't know if there'll be any more of those coming up. But those, yeah, I don't know. I think you caught the one eagle going across the highway. But how many eagles were in that field?
2
There were?
or 3.
Yeah. There must have been something there that they were munching on. So anyway, we are slowly I think we're coming up to it. See where that car is ahead of us? I think that's the state line there. We are almost across the state line. Here we are, Montana. What does it say? Anything? Just Montana. Not even a welcome to Montana, just Montana. Hello, we are in Montana. Welcome to Montana, where there's lots of hay bales on one side, and looks like they've got some infrastructure for some electricity on the other side. Greg and I were talking about that they didn't seem to have a lot of those windmills in our drive today, so perhaps we'll see some more windmills today. We have been driving through Montana, and we just went through Custer National Forest, and there were lots of trees like this sort of dead. I don't know whether there was a forest fire last year, but this is the surrounding area along one of the smaller highways in Montana. I drove for a little while, and I'm just now taking a break from the drive, thankfully. Off to the sides. Oh, there's some deer down there. There's a whole herd of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think, deer down there. They blend in really, really well. But deer are all along here, and gotta say, we've seen a lot of roadkill on this highway, so I would not want to be driving this highway early morning or late at night. I mean, of course, a deer can go across at any time, but they are a little bit more prone to getting near the freeway in the evenings. And of course, during winter winter if they salt the roads. They love being on the roads because the salt. Anyway, there is scenery from northeastern, or I guess we're southeastern Montana, aren't we? We're southeastern Montana. Just looking at this area here, and the trunks of these trees are black, and so these must have been in a forest fire. I'm guessing last year, not this year, although it's possible it could be this year. You can see the bottom half of many of the trees are not in good condition, but the top halves still seem a bit green, so it's possible it happened earlier this year. A lot of these trees haven't fallen yet, while on the other side, when I was driving, there were a lot of just trunks laying down. It's amazing how some of the trees seem to have been touched and others untouched. And over here, this side seemed to have been spared. I guess the way the wind blows, and as we've been driving along, I've been enjoying looking on the shoulder. There are some beautiful little, I think they're sunflowers. They're not black-eyed Susans, but they are yellow flowers, not the big sunflowers with seeds in them, but just if you can see them along the roadside there. Pretty to look at, mainly in the center. Sometimes there'll be a couple on the shoulder on my side, but for the most part they've been on the center. We'll look over here. There's a few over here actually, and we're going by really quickly, so a few of those yellow flowers. We have just entered Billings, and there is a river with some steep cliffs along the way. Really pretty actually, although we are down to a 2-lane situation right now. They're doing road work on the other side. Hoping to capture a little bit more of the river that goes alongside this cliff, because it was really quite pretty. Looks like we might capture a little glimpse of it just on the other side of those trees there. Maybe not. Maybe I had my best opportunity a few moments ago. Keep my eye open, and but in the meantime, entering Billings, Montana. We are just driving alongside this river here. It's really quite lovely. Back a little bit, it looked very shallow and looked like it'd be a great place to do some fly fishing. Hopefully we'll get up a little bit higher so we can see the river a bit better. As we were driving, I looked across the way and there were cows on the side of the hill, and they were not in the fenced-in area. So there we go, some beautiful river views there. And it's about 5 to 6 p.m. The trucks?
Yeah.
I've never seen them
Yeah,
towed like that before.
Yeah. It's amazing the things that you see towed. But right now what's captured my attention, oh, there's some deer on the other side of the fence there. We are getting to the evening hour, so I said it was 5 to 6. And this is when we need to start worrying about the deer and the deer wanting to cross the highway. Hopefully they stay away from the freeway more so than some of those back roads like we were on earlier today. Hoping there are some smart deer around here knowing to not cross the road. In the distance we can see beautiful colors, and it is definitely starting to feel like autumn. Here is the view out my window, so out to the right of the car. Of course, in North America, the driver sits on the left and the passenger sits on the right. So, really pretty to see these views. Last night, I don't know if it was quite a full moon or whether tonight is the full moon. Probably last night was the full moon. We still have a big moon that will come up later. It's been a nice clear day for a drive. So hopefully we'll be able to see some stars and the gorgeous moon tonight. For now, it is the gorgeous scenery. We're noticing that a lot of the farm fields are irrigating right now, so it's the end of the evening, and I'm not sure whether they are trying to get some more hay before the sun stops shining or runs away for the winter time. But they're using these big machines here to irrigate. We had seen those when we were going down. I'm going to see if I can find one that's running. There's one running way over the field there, but it looks like they're trying to get things all greened up for the next bit of growing that they can get in before the season is over. So there's a nice green field. And there's some irrigation that's happening just down over that way a bit. You might be able to see some of the water spraying up. Just going in a valley here between the trees, and we're starting to get some rocks happening here too. It is simply gorgeous in this part of Montana. The difficult part though is we are at 10 to 7 now, and you are going to see in a moment the sunshine is a huge challenge to drive into. So there's a train on the tracks there. Not that you might not be able to see it very well, but there is a train there. And it's great when the sun is being blocked out by the mountains as we're driving. But it is definitely a very challenging time of day to be behind the wheel, so Greg is doing a good job. The sun has just gone behind the hill, which is good because it was getting very, very bright and difficult to see. I'm not sure if you can see our windshield. It is covered in bugs. Greg does a really good job every morning of clearing the windshield off, especially right here. So for the most part, we've been having pretty good views. Isaac did a quick clean of it at our last gas station refill, but lots of bugs on the screen right now. Anyway, here is the current view as the sun starts to go down. We are approaching Butte, Montana. We should be there in about a half an hour-ish, and that will be really nice to be able to rest for the evening to prepare for the long drive tomorrow, which will get us back home. I had put the camera away, but then we turned a corner and these colors are absolutely gorgeous. The pinks and the peaches, the purples in the sky. So pretty. Looks like we're going to be rounding a corner and going right into that sunshine again for a moment. But, oh my goodness. Greg's got to put his sunglasses back on. But those colors, incredible. Entered a new terrain now, just as we are approaching Butte, and very, very rocky with some trees in there as well. Lots of bug nests on the windscreen, but look at that. Isn't that incredible? Tomorrow's drive has lots more pretty views in store for us. Not quite like Algonquin, definitely more stony.
Mountain journeys.
It is. But it's not quite like British Columbia either.
Yeah, those upright rocks
Yeah.
are quite interesting and unique for
Yeah.
rock climbing. I don't know, I'd be frightened that the darn thing would give way.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a lot of shale and like weak kind of rock, like rock slide kind of rock.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. There's probably a lot of rock slides. Pretty amazing to see. What a real quick change of scenery that was. Definitely a change in trees and in rock formation. Look at these ones. Wow, they're like skipping stones, but like upright. Really neat. I just can't seem to put the camera away tonight. Every time I think I'm ready to put it away, another beautiful view comes into sight, or I think, oh, it's too dark. But coming down the mountain into Butte, and gotta say, it is a Butte. This view is a Butte. So entering Butte, Silverbow County Cultural Heritage Area. be nice to get off the road tonight, though. It definitely will. Good morning from Butte, Montana. Oh my goodness, it is chilly. When I was upstairs in the hotel room, Greg said it's -5 Celsius. And I said, you're kidding. He said, no, there's frost out there. There's a little bit of frost still over there. It's now 1 degree Celsius, September 11th. It's chilly. Today is our last day on the road. It's so chilly I can see my breath. Today's our last day on the road. We are heading home today, thankfully. And it'll be nice to be in my own bed. I have to say, last night I had a terrible night's sleep. The mattress was not so great. It was a nice enough hotel chain, but they need new mattresses. Anyway, we are just getting ourselves packed, ready to get going for the day. It's going to be a really long drive, but it will be so nice to get home, see Scout, see Tasha, sleep in my own bed, get back to my yarn stash, all that stuff. Anyway, Butte, Montana is looking really lovely today. We've got the sun shining, the birds flying, and we are ready to roll. We have left Butte, Montana, and we are heading toward Missoula. That's the next major station, and we are back in very flat territory. Lots of beef cattle over there. We've seen some horses as well. I'm expecting we'll get into some mountains soon as well. But for now, this is the current situation. It's also, well, it's gone up to 8 degrees now, so we left shortly after 8. It's now just past 8:30, and it is now, it was 9 degrees now. It's heating up. But Nathaniel and Isaac were a little bit surprised, even though I warned them it was cold out. I think they thought I was joking when I said it was 1 degree.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, I didn't think that.
I did.
You don't not speak for me.
All I know is that my feet were cold and I'm still wearing flip-flops. So it's cold today. We had gone up to 9 degrees earlier in the drive. It is now 8:58 a.m. and look at that, 2 degrees Celsius. My feet are still defrosting. September 11th, still technically summer. Oh, look, heating up, gone up to 3 degrees Celsius. But it is chilly out, considering it is still technically summertime. So, summer in Montana, early morning, it's a bit cold. We are starting to get into hillier territory, and we are about 144 miles from the state line between Montana and Idaho. We'll have a short jaunt across Idaho today, and then we'll be into Washington State. So expecting some mountains today. There's some fresh streams, and today it's now 6 degrees. They would definitely feel very fresh. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to share other than the pretty views. We will be coming up to Missoula, I think in the next hour-ish, and then continuing along. There's this really pretty windy river going alongside the highway, and it's just winding up, and then it comes back down along the highway. Of course, now it won't because I've said something, but I think it will again. But it's really nice. It's shallowish, so it looks like people could do some fly fishing if they wanted. There it is again. There's a little campground and hotel, the Bearmouth RV Park. It looks like it's got a little lodge there as well. It looks like it would be a nice place to stay. Not too deep of a river, I don't think, but probably a lot of runoff, especially in the spring. We are just coming up on the state line change between Montana and Idaho. So we are on the I-90 and it is windy. I am driving, so Greg's holding the camera. And thoughts on the drive so far, everyone?
Boring.
Boring. Nathaniel says boring. We are at 3 miles out from the state line, so we'll just keep driving and get the camera ready in a moment. We are going uphill. Visitor info next right because we're going into Idaho. All the trucks are trying to get up the hill, so they've got their hazards on. It's a bit of a slog for a big truck pulling a big load like that, but they do it non-stop. Well, hopefully they stop. They've got to be required to stop, but they continue to bring truckloads of goods here. We are coming up at exit 0. I don't think I've ever seen an exit 0. Although I guess we have highway. What's the road 0 down by the Peace Arch? What road is that?
It's 0 Avenue.
0 Avenue in BC. So we are Idaho state law. We've just left, or we are just leaving Montana. I see the Welcome to Idaho sign, and look at this view. Wow. And this corner is just a little bit scary, actually, driving it. Speed limit's going down, but what a view. Maybe, yeah, Greg can lift the camera to share with everybody. There's a couple of motorcyclists in front of us. There's one with a tricycle and one on a regular motorcycle, and I imagine they are very much enjoying this drive. Actually, yeah, okay, I was going to stop for a moment, but I won't. It was too short of there's a historical site here, but we'll just stay on the highway until the next spot where Greg and I can switch around. I think after this part of the drive, I'm going to be ready to take a break and sit and knit on my 2nd Avenue wrap. Anyway, welcome to Idaho. We will be in Idaho for a fairly short amount of time before we go into Washington. But we are coming up on Coeur d'Alene, which is I'm guessing a small town. Could be a big town, but I think it's probably a smaller town, and it'll have some amenities, and we will do the switch over at that point. Lots of highway construction now as they prepare for winter. And I do not think I would want to be driving down this or up this in the winter. So if we take a look to the left, see some beautiful high views of the side, although I can't, Greg can. Isaac is taking control of the camera.
I have control.
I will let you take control of the voiceover too.
I am the voice-over. I'm the hidden voice. Wait, no, you were supposed to tell them I was the hidden voice. Oh well. Hello, world. world, it is I, Isaac, and I am in control. Currently, we are overlooking this beautiful lake. I'm trying to focus it so you can see, but most of it you can see the road because I can't get high enough to look. But there are some mountains and beautiful views, and on my right is Nathaniel, and he's doing something. But I'm gonna look over here. Now I see all trees. Here we are. We're driving in the back seat with Isaac, the back seat driver. Yep. And yeah, we've got forests. And, oh, there's a nice, pretty view. Ooh, very nice. Yeah, I'm just looking, and there's a truck in my way. Oh well. What are we discussing? How are we feeling now after driving this long? Achy, yeah, that makes sense.
Every time I get out of the car, it's just crazy. My knees are clicking a little bit earlier, so makes for a long day. There's a lake that's going to be coming up on our right in a second, just right to there.
I'm trying to see it.
The nice thing about having sat nav is you can kind of get an idea of what's ahead. Oh, there's one of those fake trees that has satellite or cell tower stuff in it. See this?
Yes, I got it in the camera shot.
Greg and I have done a switchover at Coeur d'Alene, and we are heading westward. Next major center is Spokane, Washington, so we will have a state line to cross. I forgot to mention when we were crossing into Idaho, not only was it a state line change, but it was also a time change. So we gained another hour of driving. Yay! That's how it goes. Anyway, I am working on my 2nd Avenue wrap. It is coming along nicely. Isaac is drinking a bubbly in the back seat. We found these ones last night, these bubbly bounce. I say bubbly, you say bubbly. Bubbly is correct. Anyway, so this is bubbly bounce in the blood orange and grapefruit flavor. Not very coordinated. Beautiful views out the window with the graduated color changes of those trees. Green trees ahead. And I'm going to work on my 2nd Avenue wrap for a little while as we continue the drive westward. We are coming up on the Idaho-Washington state line, and when we started off our journey almost 5 weeks ago, I did not capture day 1, so I did not get the Washington sign, I didn't get the Idaho sign, so today we've made up for that. I didn't get Oregon. I was a little bit lax that day. Anyway, we are just about to leave Idaho and enter into Washington. And then we have the last border to cross, and that is the US-Canada border. And I think we've just, oh no, we're not quite there yet. Here's the state line, exit 299. And there's this river here. And here we are. Welcome to Washington. So, welcome to Washington, USA. We are in our last state before we switch over to kilometers and metric as we enter into Canada. But that's not for, about 300 miles or so, and I'm gonna say so. We've just driven through Spokane, Washington, and one thing I'm really noticing is how hazy it is not sure whether there are forest fires happening that are creating issues in the atmosphere. I can see that it is a little bit blue up in the sky there, but for the most part, it just looks like a misty day. The temperature has gone up to 23 degrees Celsius. So we started off our morning in Montana at 1 degree Celsius, and we're now at 23 degrees Celsius, so a big change. But yeah, I'm not really sure why it's so hazy. I haven't been paying attention to any reports of forest fires on the west coast, so I guess we'll find out soon enough. When we drove through Washington last time, we didn't go via Spokane, and so this is our first time driving this way. It's really very beautiful along this stretch here, so we're just a little bit west of Spokane, and lots of bogs. Still quite hazy, but it's really pretty, fairly flat landscape for now. I'm sure we will be getting into some more mountainous territory soon, but right now we just need to be vigilant about deer wanting to cross across this beautiful highway stretch. Just looking out the window and feeling a little bit surprised about this landscape in Washington. I was expecting it to be a lot more mountainous. Little hills here, but not what I was expecting. We have just rounded a corner. I've pulled out my map because I want to see where we are. I've got my mouth full right now. In relation to Canada, I think we're probably South Alberta here. It's Western Alberta. But this is really pretty with the lake and everything. And very grassland. So when I look, actually we are south of British Columbia, but south of the interior of British Columbia, so Kelowna is a little farther west, but definitely very grassy and plains, and like I mentioned before, not quite what I was expecting in Washington. Nathaniel just said, are we still in, did you say Idaho? Or Montana? What did you ask, Nathaniel?
This looks like Wyoming.
Wyoming. I don't know that it quite looks like Wyoming, but
Not quite, but
it looks very much like yesterday's drive, but there's a nice big lake, so a little bit more moisture in here. Still very hazy. The temperature has shot up to 26 degrees Celsius, so hazy and warm. I don't mind if when we get home it is warmer, because that 1 degree today was a little bit too cold for my liking for what is still considered summertime. I'll do a quick map locator for us. So we started off this morning in Butte, and then we went up to Missoula, and then we went through to Coeur d'Alene, through Spokane. We'll be going down this way towards Yakima, and then up towards Seattle, but we're going to take the bypass around Seattle and head up into Surrey and into Vancouver. We are planning on crossing at the Peace Arch, and I'll hopefully be able to share some of that with you. A little bit of cow action there. Looks like there's just 2 cows in that field over there. Oh, there's some more over there. But oh, there's a train there as well. When you've been in the car this long, you see lots of grass. that kind of stuff. At least today I know the date. It is Sunday, September 11th. Last year, as we were driving west, I kept seeing tumbleweeds, and they, of course, were stripped bare. I think these are what I had been looking at. I think these right here, there's a dried out one that will turn into a tumbleweed. And these ones have foliage on them right now, but soon they will, with the winds, become dislodged and roll themselves across the highway. And across the fence over there, there are tons of them. So I believe they're tumbleweeds. If you look up on the hill all the way around, there are tumbleweeds all around, ready for the autumn season so that they can let loose and roll themselves across the highway. We are still in North Washington, approaching the central area. There's a scenic view in a mile. Oh, nice. We just passed by, I don't know whether it's a lake or a river. I think it must be a river. And I think we're actually going to cross it in a few minutes. But it's just down in that gorge down there. I don't know if you can see it, but you will see it in a moment because I believe we're going over a bridge. But lots of scruffy things on the side of the road here. And I believe we'll be coming into areas where they do a lot of apple farming. I did see that there was a lavender farm not too far from here as well. I wish it were a little less hazy, but oh my goodness, look at this. There's a little tiny bridge down there. I'm not sure if we're going across that. We very well might be. I think we are. So this is quite the river. It sort of opens up into a bit of a lake along here. I wasn't expecting Washington to look like this. Not sure what I was expecting. I think lots of mountains and lots of green, because when we went down, Winnipegum Dam, I think is what it said. And we are going to be going towards Seattle, so continuing on the 90, straight ahead. They were saying on the news that the weather was sunny with, they say sunny and smoky? Sunny and smoky, so it's been very hazy all day long. Let me zoom on I'm not sure what, oh, here we go, this will probably tell me. This is the Columbia River. Of course it is. So, someone having fun with his jet ski in the Columbia River. But gorgeous. Down the way, but there's someone doing donuts in the middle with his jet ski. He's having a good time. It's not quite winter here yet for him. He wants to enjoy spinning around in the water. It's 27 degrees Celsius now, so a beautiful day for being on the water. He keeps going around in circles. I'm not sure what. He's just doing a bunch of donuts. Looks kind of like a fun afternoon if you're hanging out on the water. Ginkgo Petrified Forest State Park. In this field, these are like the square bales that Greg was talking about yesterday with the haying, and that is sort of what he was talking about. You can see some windmills in the distance. One of the things I'm hoping to point out is the storage of how they store their hay bales in this area. They have them covered over with tarps, and sometimes in like this one here, they've built a covered barn for their hay right here, because I guess with the inclement weather that the west coast or the wet coast is known for, they need to be able to keep the hay dry so that it doesn't, what, Greg?
Molder.
Molder. I knew you were going to say that. Looks like they'll be maybe trying to get some more hay off of these fields before the season is over. There's been a lot of watering. There's these irrigation structures, and a lot of the fields have been watered as they continue to try and get as much hay in while the sun is shining, because soon the rainy season will be here. We have just entered the Mountain to Sound Greenway. So I guess this will be our last little bit before we get to Seattle, which the highway goes about 92 more miles, and then we will start heading on the bypass and heading north up to the Vancouver area. So we've got a couple more hours left to drive, about 3.5, so a little more than a couple. I did not see any more of those covered hay things. I was sad about that because I wanted to show you how it's a little bit different out here. Landscapes are always a good thing. A little bit more green. We are just in a bit of a traffic jam right now, and we're also passing an area that was affected by forest fires last year. So you can get an idea of what that's looking like. I'm assuming it was forest fire last year, though I guess it could have been earlier this year. Though I don't know that there's been as many forest fires this year as there were in 2021. We are going slowly. We're not sure why, whether there's an accident ahead. It's Sunday evening, so traffic, there's a car that's pulled over. Maybe it was just the car pulled over.
It's smashed.
Oh, that's not good. Anyway, there's a beautiful river, and we're not really picking up the pace too much faster, but yeah, never good to have to slow down because someone's been in an accident, because of course that's a very stressful event for them. Anyway, we will continue along our way as safely as possible. I just saw a sign that said Palouse to Cascades, so that's the area that we're in. I was thinking it was Palisades, but it's the Cascades. And the East Summit is a mile away. There's a dairy truck from Washington. We've passed that a couple of times while we were in a bit of a traffic jam. Green, mountainous Washington. Oh, and there's some mountains. those chair lifts. I think that's where we got off before when we were driving.
Yeah.
And took a quick bathroom break on our first day down to Florida. Anyway, we are continuing down the way, and we are getting closer. We're about 40 miles from the outskirts of Seattle from here. We just stopped at the Safeway supermarket, and I got a sandwich, which was a really, really great turkey bacon sandwich. Greg, you got, what did you eat?
I ate baked chicken, and potato wedge and macaroni.
And you guys got
Chinese
food, and I think you thought it was good?
Yeah, nice.
I also had a couple of spring rolls. And while we were there, I picked up some Buble Bounce, which is the caffeinated buble or bubbly I showed you earlier. So I picked up a couple boxes of that because they had it on special. And they don't sell that on the Canadian side of the border. Normally I would buy my cherry Coke, but I went for the Buble Bounce instead. We are now back on the road and heading toward the border. Our new arrival time is shortly after 9 o'clock at the Float House, so we should probably get into the border. I'm thinking about 8:15, probably 8:15, 45 minutes from the border to our house. And I've done the ArriveCan app, so we're just enjoying a somewhat clearer evening than we've had today. A little bit of a sunset happening here, and got some nice soft classical music playing. I hope that doesn't completely copyright this little segment out. Anyway, heading home, looking forward to being in our own beds tonight. Isaac has not had his own room for how long?
A long time.
A long time.
I don't know how long. 3.5 months, 3.5 months. I don't know.
Well, when you left to fly down to Florida. Before that, you had your own room in college, and then
when I left for
but when you went to Florida, so he's not had his own room. The past few nights, we've all been sleeping in the same hotel room, so very close quarters, and I think we're all looking forward to having our own space, our own bathroom, proper tea. I did stop and get myself a Starbucks extra large Earl Grey for the rest of the ride home because the Safeway has Starbucks in it. So I just need a little bit more caffeine, and looking forward to getting home soon. Lots to unpack, including lots of buble. Someone's getting tired over there. I did drive for a couple hours today, but when we're at the border, I get all the cards ready. So when we cross the border, I'm in the...
miles, turn right at exit 10 onto I-405.
She thinks she's the navigator, but I really am. But we do need to get over a couple lanes. Anyway, I'm the navigator. I get to do all the paperwork at the border, and yeah, so camera's going away for a little bit. We are just bypassing Seattle. I believe we're in Bellevue, Washington right now. So a bit of a business district here, and there's even toll lanes, so we have to be careful not to get in the wrong lane. But I was kind of hoping to go to the Cheesecake Factory, but I had a lovely sandwich. I'm good. Even though I do love my Godiva cheesecake, not happening this time. Oh, I see. Oh, the express toll lanes right now are free, but we'll just stay in this lane. Anyway, this is Bellevue, Washington, which is a little bit east of Seattle. We haven't been to Seattle yet. One day we'll get there. But right now home. Home, 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 home.
Towards Vancouver, BC now.
And now we are going to the turnoff towards Vancouver. Beautiful sunset. And here we are getting on that last stretch of highway before we get to the Peace Arch. Yeah. It was hard to leave Toronto.
Proceed on the 5 north.
But as I said, it will be so nice to be in our own space. At home, I've noticed that there is a murder of crows that travels to a place near Burnaby, and we're just noticing right now quite a lot of crows. There's some in the trees there, and they are all flying. There they are. Isn't that amazing? I'm asking everyone else in the car and they're not responding.
I don't see them.
They're up in the sky. You're driving, so you're not supposed to see them. So there is a murder of crows in the Vancouver area that flies to their nightly sleep location, and then they go off on their own. And we've noticed a few bunches of them heading towards a southern place that crows in the Seattle area sleep at nighttime. I don't see any more in the skies right now, but I just think it's absolutely amazing to watch at nighttime when they start to gather and fly to where it is they all safely roost. I don't know if that's the correct word for crows, but I don't see any more right now, but you did see a few, I hope, which I think is just such a neat thing to witness. Of course, as soon as I turn the camera off, we'll get a whole pile of them fly overhead, because that's always the way it works. But look at this beautiful sky. Sun is just going down, and just wanted to share with you some of the waterways around the Seattle area. So we are where the red arrow is, and we are on this, I guess, approaching the Strait of, I think it's Juan de Fuca, and then that goes out to the Salish Sea and the Pacific Ocean. Oh, there we go. So there is the waterway to the strait. Maybe Isaac can take that, hold it a little closer so that you can see. Beautiful sunset and gateway to the Pacific Ocean through that waterway there. Very, very pretty. We are just coming up to the Peace Arch, and we're in the Nexus lane. And there is the Peace Arch straight ahead. I am going to have to stop filming now because we've got to get through customs, but I wanted to share this. We're also right on the ocean. Anyway, camera's going away. See you on the other side in Canada. We actually have a few moments at the border. Over to my right is the Canadian side of the Peace Arch Park. And it is closed right now. The American side is open. This was, during the pandemic, the only place that Canadians and Americans could come and walk through and meet. So it's a unique entry point. But the Peace Arch is just over there somewhere. I can't see the arch itself. Anyway, gotta go. Gotta get through customs. Welcome to beautiful British Columbia. I missed the sign, but entering the city of Surrey from the Peace Arch, no problems getting through. It was a bit complicated because we had done most of our declaration last week when we went from Florida into the Niagara area, but we are now back in British Columbia. We are going to take the highway home, and we should be back home in about 20-25 minutes. But we are back in Canada, so bienvenue au Canada, and welcome to Canada. Well, the wonderful thing about having all of that footage finally put out there in the Vlogtobers is I now have the ability to clear off this SD card, and then once I've got this vlog edited, I can clear off the SD card that is in the camera there. So I will have 2 perfectly clear SD cards, and that only means one thing. I gotta go more and do some more traveling, don't you think? Anyway, I am wishing you a wonderful last day of October wherever you are. I am wishing you health and happiness going forward into November and December and the rest of 2022. A huge, huge, huge thank you for joining me this month. I hope that you have enjoyed the Vlogtobers and the variety of things happening on the float and traveling across the US, into Canada, back across the US, and back into Canada again. So I really appreciate the time that you have given me and my family this month, and I'm sending you lots and lots of love. I am sending you lots and lots of love and happy wishes. Happy November. I will see you on Thursday for a regular podcast. Bye. We are about 5 miles from joining back up with the highway, so back up onto I-90, the state highway. And just thought I'd give you a quick view. We've been seeing lots of wild horses today, and I mentioned some deer earlier. No bison. Land as far as the eye can see. And a child in the back having a sleep.
Yourself up in the sport.
He did. Oh. Anyway, yeah, I guess when you're in the back seat and a lot of the land looks very similar, it's very easy to have a good